Kopite podcast with your hosts Mick Moran and Jay Pearson.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Kopite podcast. As always, Jay's here and I'm alongside Mick.
How you doing?
Not so bad, mate.
Got a very special guest, haven't we, Jay?
We have. So this is a very special episode of the Kopite podcast, as today we are joined by an actual Anfield legend. Since 1971 he's been the voice we've all come to know and love at Anfield. He's witnessed 11 league championships, 6 European Cups, 6 FA Cups, 8 League Cups, as well as many other memorable moments. Now in his 49th season behind the mic, we are proud and honoured to welcome the one and only George Sephton. Welcome, George.
Thank you for having me.
Good intro.
You forgot the partridge and the pear tree when you went through that.
I should have done that, to be fair. It is Christmas, isn't it? But George, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us, mate. But we'll start at the beginning. How did you become the voice of Anfield?
It's getting to be a well-known story, this. I was at Anfield standing in the old paddock one night in spring of 71, and the guy on the PA, well, it was still the tannoy then.
Yeah.
He was prone to making bloomers. I didn't know till later he was a stand-in. Well, that night he said something stupid, and I looked at my wife and I said, "Oh, this guy's an embarrassment to our football club." And she didn't bat an eyelid. She just looked at me and said, "It's all right for you standing down here. I bet you couldn't do any better." And I thought, well, actually,
Yeah.
I went home. I thought she just, it was a challenge, and I went home. I wrote to Peter Robinson, big long letter, but basically boiled down to "Dear Sir, gives a job," and they just decided to sling this guy out. My letter landed on his desk, and he thought, well, if this guy hasn't got two heads, he might save us a lot of hassle. And I went in and had a chat, and come the August, I was given a tryout. I'm still technically speaking on a tryout. I've never been given a contract. I think
Wow.
silly like that. Well, I'll just turn up like a bad penny now.
So with that being your first game, then was August 14th, 1971. Was it against Forest?
Against Nottingham Forest.
And it was there's a bit of a pub question here now, isn't it? Why was that game extra special?
Because a young lad called Kevin Keegan from Scunthorpe made his debut.
Wow. And what did you make of him like that first game?
Oh, he was obviously going to be a huge talent. The ground he covered. Somebody poked their head in my room and said, "That new lad's a bit of a tiger, isn't he?" And that's about
Did they mean you?
No. I was neither young nor tigerish. But it was obvious he had the class and the spirit. And the whole way he moved, he just impressed you as soon as he got on the pitch. And obviously it did impress Shanks.
Of course.
In training the previous week, because he didn't know till quite late on he was playing on the Saturday. He was sort of settling in for a couple of years in the reserves. And all of a sudden he's told, "You're in the team, son." It was crazy because apparently he was late because I'm not sure if he came on the bus or in somebody's car, but he had no concept of the crowd and the traffic round there, because he'd been playing for Scunthorpe.
Of course.
You strolled up at 10 to 3 and wandered in, put your boots on. That was it. But he got away with it, obviously, and the rest, as they say, is history. I saw Kevin a couple of years ago. I hadn't seen him for ages. He turned up to Liverpool when we were playing United, probably about 3 years ago now, and I bumped into him in the corridor afterwards, and I said, "You won't remember." I said, "I started the same day as you." And he smiled so very nice, and then he just went blank a minute. He said, "Hang on, you're still here?" And I said, "Yes, Kevin, but I think you did slightly better out of it than I did."
You got a full-time contract.
Yes, he did, yeah.
So obviously, George, you were in the stands watching the game when your wife basically made the greatest decision of your life for you, besides you marrying her.
Yeah.
But how did you start following the club?
I was brought up as a Red. My family, for various reasons, were, shall we say, old parents, and all my relations were older than your average family, and their history went back to Liverpool docks. I mean, my uncle's wife had a tobacconist shop in Great Howard Street.
Right.
And we're talking about after the war, before I started school. I started school in 1951. I have to go and have a lie down from here now. I've said that. It's a long time ago. But I used to go down there, and she always had a bar of chocolate off ration for me, which is good.
Wow.
But in those days, back in the early 1900s, people don't believe me now, but Liverpool was like Glasgow. If you were a Catholic, you followed Everton.
Right.
And if you weren't, you followed Liverpool. There's no ifs, buts or maybes.
Wow.
So we were a Protestant family, obviously, and that was it. You were a Red. And my dad was a big strapping centre forward. He had a trial at Anfield in 1923.
Wow.
When he was 14. Didn't quite make it, but he played football and he boxed. But he was a regular on the Kop from that time on till he could. He was very ill and couldn't go anymore. In the 60s.
Right.
So that was it. I was indoctrinated. Thank God.
Do you remember your first game?
Do
you remember your first game?
I do. My dad only once took me to Anfield. His attitude was that was his department, and I did what young boys wanted to do. We wasn't going to stand on the Kop with him. And when I was just about to turn 14, I managed to get tickets to Anfield to watch Liverpool play United in the Cup. So that we're talking about January 1960 now. And that was my first game. We got beat 3-1, but that was in the days when we were in the second division.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And United were the bee's knees, Bobby Charlton and that era. But that was my introduction, and then I gradually started going week in, week out. I never went in the boys' pen. I went straight to the Kop.
Yeah.
For whatever, I'm really thinking that far back. It was never an option. I don't know why. So I stood on the Kop, for several years. Then I had a season ticket in the paddock for 2 years. And then after that, I've got the best seat in the house.
You certainly have. You certainly have. Talking about that seat, George, if we just go to your matchday duties now, obviously you are the stadium announcer, but you're also the club's DJ as well, which a lot of people sort of forget.
They do.
They just think you just press a button and then that's it. But obviously, me and Mick are regulars at Anfield anyway, so there's a lot of people that enjoy your music, and me especially, because I think some of the variations that you play is really good for everybody's musical taste, But what I want to know is, does the playlist depend on who we're playing, or whether it's a Champions League game or if it's a Premier League game? Is your playlist more of a pumping one if we're about to play United at home? Or
it can be. Generally speaking, I like to get the atmosphere going if I can. It's much more difficult now because since 1994, we don't get the crowd in early.
Of course,
Everybody's coming to Anfield on a cold night. They've got a ticket. They know they're going to get in. They know where they're going to sit.
Yeah.
They don't have to get
worry
out
about
the cold.
it.
Whereas when I started in the early 70s, and when Leeds were our big rivals, more than once I'd turn up to Anfield sort of 12:30 on a Saturday afternoon for a 3 o'clock kickoff, and all the standing areas were full.
Wow.
Gates locked.
Yeah.
2.5 hours before kickoff. I mean, I'd slump back into my chair at 3 o'clock, absolutely exhausted.
Yeah.
Just the row and the pressure of getting everything done. But nowadays, I try and get the atmosphere going, but you've got to make it loud. Again, which can cause complications. Again, the thing lately is TV companies asking me to turn the music down, which really annoys me.
I can imagine.
My attitude is this is a football ground, not a TV studio.
Yeah.
First and foremost.
If I went in your studio and started jumping up and down and shouting in the corner, you get pity uppity.
Yeah.
You'd throw me out.
Absolutely.
He wouldn't say, we'll just tone down the conversation. So that's a bit of a pain, but generally speaking, the big European occasions, the thing has always been to get tub thumping music going and get it louder and louder as kickoff approaches. so that by the time kickoff's there, the place is, really rocking. And most by and large, touch wood, it works. When everything falls into place, if we win the game, if we score early, or if there's an incident earlier on, like a sending off or a should have been sending off, something to get the cop riled, that'll generate an atmosphere, and then after that it gets louder on its own. It's the atmosphere at Anfield is a creature all of its own.
Of course, yeah. And is it yourself that picks all the tracks and all that sort of stuff? Yeah,
absolutely.
Because imagine you've got such a eclectic music taste as well.
Yeah, well, I have. I mean, it comes back to being an only child and sitting in the bedroom with the Dansette record player as a teenager. I've got very, very, very broad tastes. There are some things that I like. I wouldn't play at Anfield in a million years because they're too quiet, or they mean things to me and wouldn't mean anything to anybody else. I get sent a lot of stuff nowadays from local bands. Touch wood, for whatever reason, the stuff I've been getting recently has been fantastic. There was a spell in the 80s when everybody had a cassette player. Yeah. And so, there was, I've forgotten the name of the band, The Corner Shop. They recorded a #1 single. In fact, it wasn't they, it was a bloke in his bedroom with a single cassette player, and it got to #1.
Wow.
And after that, everybody else thought they could do the same. And they couldn't.
Got an influx of them.
They really couldn't. I got to know John Peel very well before he died. And I remember saying to his wife, Sheila, a while afterwards, I said, I'm getting like John, I get all these cassettes sent to me. Yeah. And CD demos and whatever. And I'll go through a pile and I'll very quickly segregate them. That's rubbish. That's going in the bin. That's fantastic. That's good, but it won't sound good at Anfield. Right. If you get some acoustic stuff with no bass line on it, you get lost. And there are one or two things that you have to play which are acoustic. And I'm thinking of Alley, at the moment, which is only Jamie Webster and his guitar, which they all go for. But by and large, that's the trick. And I say I am paranoid about encouraging local talent for several reasons. Mainly going back to my childhood. When I was 12, at school the rules were that if it was raining at dinner time, you got a book and went and sat in the big hall. Right. My mate and I thought, blow that for a game. We used to slope off downstairs to the basement and watch these big boys practicing their guitar chords. One was called George Harrison. Another guy called Paul McCartney. Don't know whatever happened to him. Yeah. Wow. And a few other people of that ilk. And obviously, I can remember that. They were young lads. Bought a guitar.
That is unreal.
And this is what happens to these fellas. They're with a bit of encouragement. And over the years, there's a few bands I'm really proud of. Strange to relate, Atomic Kitten.
Of course, yeah.
Were made their first appearance anywhere at Anfield, which was hilarious. But I mean, bands like the Zootons and the Coddle.
Oh, yeah. Course,
I was the first person to play them anywhere big. Yeah. And who was it? The Teardrop Explodes told somebody at the BBC they owed their career to me. Wow. I'm not entirely sure that's true, but I'll take it.
You'll take it, wouldn't you? Of course you would, yeah. And that's the thing, you've got so many famous bands like the Beatles, Jerry and the Pacemakers, the Zootons. People forget about Dead or Alive, Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
Yeah. Frankie, I mean...
Lightning Seeds is another one.
I'm still in touch. I got an email the other night from Holly Johnson because somebody had told him I've played Welcome to the Pleasure Dome a couple of times lately. And that's weird when somebody like that's emailing you. But I'm quite pally with Nasher, the guitarist, after Frankie, and he's doing a charity record at the moment, which he's supposed to be passing over to me before Christmas to get it plugged. But I say people like that, when you're holding conversations with them, and Nash has been round to my house a couple of times. I sit there and I think, this is a superstar, and he's in my front room. This is crazy.
Does with the music scene, obviously with the new bands and stuff like that, is it still something that you'd like to do more of, or is it just think you just back away from it now?
No, it is. It's changed. Obviously, I'm getting older and mellowing out, and I find nowadays I'm listening to a lot more quieter stuff. You may or may not know there's quite a big country music scene coming up again around Liverpool. There's a lot of girl singers. Strange, one or two blokes, but mostly women who are singing, Nashville songs.
Yeah,
and the two or three of them are absolutely out of this world. Again, one or two of them, I played their first record. There's a thing on Granada TV recently. A girl called Megan Louise. They interviewed her on Granada Report, and they showed a video clip of her sitting in the main stand. And I'm playing her first ever CD.
Wow.
Yeah, I've seen that actually.
And, she's great.
Yeah.
She really is.
Yeah, she's amazing.
She's just turned 17 now. And again, a girl called Laura Oakes from Highton. I compared her first gig at the Zanzibar a few years. She was bottom of the bill, but I happened to be doing a favour for somebody that night. And I thought, blimey. And she's making a steady, good living. She's not a big star, but she's going to do well. Guys like Robert Vincent, another one, he's been flitting backwards and forwards to Nashville lately, and he's not doing the huge gigs, but he's selling out where he goes.
Yeah,
and he's good. And people say to me, "Oh, thank you for playing this." I said, "No. You churn out the good stuff."
Of course, absolutely, yeah.
It does me a pound of good as well. If I could, if I think about it for a day or two, I could write down a long, long list of people who are sending me stuff, and sometimes it's hard to squeeze it all in.
Of course, yeah.
But as you say, people don't realise sometimes I actually play all this music. There was a guy a couple of years ago, I've forgotten the fella's name, but he emailed me out the blue. He said, "I'm managing this band. Would you like to have a listen to the first single?" I said, "Yeah, send it over an MP3. I'll listen to that. It's good, that. It's, rock music, big sound to it. That'll go down well as Anfield." I said, "Oh yeah, I'll put it on my playlist." And he said, "When are you playing it?" I said, "I'll play it next Saturday." Great, I did. And the following Monday, I get this really nasty email from the guy. "I thought you were going to play our band." I said, "Well, it did." He said, "Well, I sat there right through half time and I didn't hear it." And I said, "Well, you wouldn't, because I played it at 20 to 3. Yeah. I've been playing music for 2 hours before kickoff when you were in the pub." And I never heard back from him. But I thought this is a common thing. People haven't a clue what I did. I mean, years ago, when my youngest son, who's 45 now, 44, he was going out one night, Saturday night, to a gig in Manchester. I said, "Who are you going to see?" "Oh," he said, "nobody you've ever heard of." I said, "Go and try me." He said, "Lemon Jelly." I said, "Oh, I've dug in my bag. I've got the demo of the latest singers. I've been playing this for the last 6 weeks." Again, if you'd bother getting out the pub.
Of course, you hear him.
He was brilliant, my younger lad. He'd go to the Abbey, the other side of Stanley Park, and he'd fall into a seat just when You Never Walk Alone started. Every week. I don't know how he did it, but he did it. So that taught him a bit of a lesson as well. But it's a popular misconception that I just turn up, put a You Never Walk Alone on, put my feet up. I wish.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the other three misconceptions are: 1, I get 100 grand a week like the players. 2, I get 500 free tickets every week. And 3, I'm bosom pals with Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah.
Nah. I wish.
You've not even got a full-time contract.
Yeah, that's the other one.
So how's your role as the DJ's changed over the years? Because obviously from where we are now as a society and technology, everything's all MP3 based, it's all digital. And obviously you've been through the mill with vinyls, with tapes,
Yeah.
with CDs. So, I mean, you still carry around the big silver briefcase?
No.
Damn
I've
it.
still got it at home, but I've stashed that away with my little treasure trove. I've got a lot of CDs that signed, and some I'm in the credits and that sort of thing. But nowadays, I've changed my whole tactic. Obviously, I don't work full time anymore. When I had a 9-to-5 job, what I quite often do would be go home at lunchtime, grab a few compilation CDs, put them in that silver case you're talking about, and waltz it off to Anfield after work. Now, between games, I'm downloading stuff. I'm retrieving stuff from my CD shelves, and during, if you're lucky, you've got 2 weeks between a game. I'll be downloading a track at a time, so that by the time the match is due, I've got enough to keep. I'll sort of record 3 or 4 hours worth on a memory stick, or 2 duplicate memory sticks, just in case.
Just in case, yeah.
And take them off to Anfield and pick and choose as the night goes on. I'm paranoid about having backups of everything. Again, at Anfield, in my little room there, I've got a pile of compilation CDs just in case.
Just in case
the memory
technology
sticks
fails us.
I had one memory stick crack inside the USB port on the Dexter, and there was a classic occasion. I was on my way to Anfield. I went out early because I needed to clean all the dog hairs out of the car, so I stopped at the local garage, hoovered up, and the memory stick disappeared up the tube.
Oh, no.
So that's what I said, something like that. And oh gosh, what a shame. Yeah. But obviously I still had the one backup, so that was handy.
Oh, gosh.
But
Is life easy for you these days with all the digital stuff, obviously?
It is, yeah. The complication comes when people say to me when I'm just about to leave for Anfield, any chance you could play so-and-so today because he's at the match?
Oh, and then you're like...
You told me yesterday.
Yeah. You could have done it.
But sometimes I can get away with that. And if I can, I will. But I have quite a lot lately. I've had to email people, said, look, I'm actually at Anfield. You're asking me to play something I've got on a CD at home. I can't do it. I physically cannot do it. But then the other side of that coin, last October, Red Star game, I got to Anfield, parked up, I'd just turned my engine off, and I got a phone call from Elvis Costello's manager.
Wow.
He said, I'm bringing Elvis to the game tonight. Any chance you play one of his tracks? I thought, if you told me even an hour ago, I said, don't worry about that. I've got his new CD in my pocket.
Right, brilliant.
I said, where are you? I said, I'm by the Shankly Gates. 10 minutes later, he walks up the road.
There it is.
The new CD. There's the best tracks. Brilliant. And then another 5 minutes, Elvis turns up. So I was there. I was actually late getting in. I hadn't seen Elvis for about 15 years, I don't think. But that was fantastic. He's a lovely bloke, and that night I was chatting to him. I impressed him twice over. First of all, I remember his dad being on telly in the 50s.
Yeah.
He said, "You're not old enough." I said, "I am, sadly." and the other thing, I'm a huge fan of his wife, Diana Krall. Don't know if you know the woman.
Right.
She's a huge star on the other side of the Atlantic.
Oh, wow.
She's a jazz pianist, but I've been a fan of hers since before he'd ever heard of her. And by coincidence, an old school friend of mine lived in the same town in Vancouver Island where she came from, and he was sending me messages. Have you heard this girl? She's brilliant. And now she was supposed to be coming to the Red Star game, because I said to him, for the first 2 years after he married her, I was carrying at least one of her CDs with me on the off chance he'd bring it to the match, and he never did. But he brought her to the Napoli game after that. I got to meet her and whatever. And the reason she couldn't come to the Red Star game was because she was touring America with Tony Bennett, who'd just done a duet album with her. She's up at that level. She's a monumental star over there.
Right.
But so I'll say I got to meet the woman at long last, which is fantastic. And then this year, the end of that story is I got a call from his manager, say Elvis was 65 on the day of the Arsenal game, and can you help? I said, what? Not really.
What do you want now?
I said, how many of you are coming? He said, there's 5 of us, me, Elvis, Diana and the 2 kids. I said, then I thought, no, there's only one thing to do. This is grovel to Peter Moore, and Peter did the trick. Had them special guests.
Superb.
Elvis got a big signed shirt, the whole squad.
Wow.
The biggest birthday cake you ever, it was bigger than you. And after the game, I went in to say hello, and Elvis and his wife were both all over me. I said, I'm so thank you.
Oh,
So thank you so much
brilliant,
for doing this. And I said, that's great. I've thought Diana was wonderful for 20 years. Now she thinks I'm wonderful. I can die.
that's sort of you're starstruck. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. But as I say, I build stuff.
It's a great story, though.
I build stuff over a period between games, and I get people will send me stuff. I'm a promo company in London sends me a lot of good stuff. They've over the years they've acquired a lot of big artists who are big. I mean Coldplay, that sort of level, and I'll hear stuff on the radio. I'll be out driving, my ears will prick up. I'll stop and write a title down. I say, I haven't heard that for years. That'd go down well. And then other things like TV commercials resurrect old tunes.
Yeah, of course.
So that's good.
We'll have that. Bang that on.
Love that in, and by the time I get to a match, I've got quite a good playlist going.
Because you've got your set ones as well, haven't you? So whatever we're chanting in the stands, like James, sit down, for Salah's song, and you've done it in the past as well, with Depeche Mode for Suarez and stuff like that.
What I find is, if I put something on thinking the couples sing along, they don't. But then about 20 minutes into the game, they'll start singing. Or the following match.
Right.
Yeah. And there's just no way of telling her. If somebody had said to her, we fancy a sing song today, you could tell, I will. But
well, that's it. I mean, I could have sworn at one point you played ABBA Voulez-Vous because of the Sadio Mane song for the Madrid. And it was brilliant. Yeah. But what I love about the half-time, George, is the tracks that you play at half-time. I love Kashmir by Led Zeppelin. And obviously it's the instrumental version from the one that Jimmy Page released in the 90s with Puff Daddy.
Yeah.
I can understand why you play that. Because it is...
It's quite atmospheric. It's very atmospheric. The reason I started playing was somebody from Radio City turned up one day. They burned a part of the track, the instrumental part. So have a listen to this, and I thought that's good for building a bit of an atmosphere. And I put it on, and then I'd used that CDR for a while. Then I finally downloaded the full Monty, the whole instrumental track, which I've got now. And of course, things like that, and Tower of Strength by The Mission, and one or two other tracks are priceless. They go on for about 8 minutes. Yeah. So if there's a problem you need to sort out, you don't need to be flashing backwards and forwards to the CD deck. Put one of them on. And again, like the Derby match last night, there was a problem with the timing of this presentation before the game. They had people on the pitch, and we were going to be a minute or maybe 30 seconds out. So you put The Mission on 5 minutes before this is going to happen, and you can't have any dead air.
Of course, yeah.
You just let it roll and turn it off when the time, or fade it when the time comes. That touch wood, that usually does the trick.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, it works really well. I mean, you stood there at half time, and then you've got the instrumental, the Kashmir playing, and it's like you said, it's so atmospheric, and you think, right, we're going to get into these in the second half. It's brilliant.
I know I'll try and vary it a bit, but people, again, Tower of Strength, somebody suggested to me a while ago, and believe it or not, I'm in touch with Wayne Hussey from The Mission, who lives in Brazil now for some reason. I've never found out why. Yeah. But he does come to the match, and he listens and watches back home in Brazil. And he's chuffed to bits that I played. But a lot of people have taken to that, and they said, that's brilliant. It's really good tub thumping stuff, and then I try and vary it, because if I play that every week, it'll lose its effect.
Yeah.
I mean, it was about a month ago, my wife and I were out driving somewhere. We were listening to Desert Island Discs, of all things, on the radio, which sometimes is awful and sometimes is really enlightening. You know, this guy, he was a real sort of dour civil servant, you know, or scientist or something, and he picked a track called Hold That Sucker Down by the OT Quartet. I have never heard of that.
Nope, never heard it myself.
In my life. And this was real old-fashioned rave stroke house. 8 minutes worth. I thought, I'll have that.
Write that down.
And again, did the trick and played that, and so it goes on.
Good. The you know, when you've got to play the Premier League anthem and the Champions League anthem,
yes.
How does the two competitions sort of differ? Because I could probably think it probably winds you up a little bit.
Yeah. You Never Walk Alone was always played right after the announcement of the teams.
Yeah.
Then Rafa decided one day it'd be better if we played it when the teams were actually out on the pitch.
Okay.
I wasn't happy but I'm just a traditionalist. I was quite happy with the way things were, but that was fine. Do what Rafa says, put it out when the other teams are out. Then the handshake anthem turns up from the Premier League.
Yeah.
And now I get a running order. And the rule is that as soon as they start shaking hands, bang that on.
Yeah.
As soon as the last handshake has happened, bang You Never Walk Alone on. Which is fine. So the first season they did it, about 3 times the teams came out late.
Oh, no.
And I got shouted at because You Never Walk Alone was still going on when the referee wanted to blow the whistle. And I said, don't be shouting at me. I've got a running order here. I stick to it, or try to. You know, the handshake anthem runs for 43 seconds. You Never Walk Alone runs for 2 minutes 38 seconds. That is 3 and a bit minutes. Yeah. So the two teams only stroll out 3 minutes before kick-off.
So, of course, going over them, yeah.
The first time it happened, I thought I'll get lynched if I don't play You Never Walk Alone. So
absolutely.
I played the handshake anthem, and I got all sorts of irate, and that's when I said, sorry, that I can work miracles. Sometimes, if it's going on, the referees will hold fire before them, but nowadays, everything's time for the TV people.
Yeah.
They don't. So we're fine. I touch wood, that's been fine lately.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the European games, again, the last thing on the pitch must be the Champions League anthem. Now they've got their own walk-on anthem. So we play You Never Walk Alone at an exact time before all that happens. And again, it's fine. I get a running order. The Champions League at time to chunks of about 20 seconds. Yeah. So, you know, I sit looking at my watch, and there's a second bang on You Never Walk Alone. But then the rule about the Champions League anthem is as soon as the last player is standing to attention, facing
of course,
the director's box, that's when you bang that on.
Right.
Not to do the time. Because I know I got dragged into a UEFA meeting 10 years ago, maybe, when it had come on late, and I got dragged in and sat down, people around the table to give me a good kicking, and they said, right, to come to our attention, you played the Champions League anthem late. I said, that's right. Oh, you admit it? I said, nothing to admit. I said, the rule is stand to attention, that's when it goes on.
Yeah.
I said, that's what the rule was issued by UEFA 30 years ago, when I was here and you all weren't. And that's what, and nothing's changed. And as it happened, it was Pepe Reina was in goal, and he was begging me, because every match he'd be the last one out.
Yeah.
He'd jog across, and he'd stop and look around for his wife and kids in the stand, give them a wave, and then carry on to where he was supposed to be. So you always added, 20 seconds.
Of course, yeah.
And that was the same that night. I mean, if you'd heard what I was calling it, the lights turned off. Goodness sake, Pep, get a move on. But as soon as he stood to attention, I banged the music on.
Yeah.
And I did it right. And I think they realised in the end I was actually taught.
Good for you.
I knew what I was doing.
Like you said, you've been there a lot longer than they had.
I've been there a lot longer than everybody did. Yeah.
Obviously, we touched on your Never Walk Alone there.
Yeah.
You've been playing it for 49 seasons. Does it still give you goosebumps?
Absolutely. Every time. Hairs on the back of the neck. If it comes on in the car, I'm out in the car, it'll still do the same.
Yeah.
Always will.
It's so famous because I know it doesn't happen a lot domestically these days, but when we are on a European night, the away fans are in awe of it, aren't they? Because it is so unique. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I think for everybody, doesn't it? Every time you hear it, it brings back so many.
Oh, absolutely. And it means so much for so many different reasons.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you're aware, there's a German movie called You Never Walk Alone, which is actually the history of the song. You can only get it on Amazon Deutschland at the moment. I've been trying to persuade them to release it over here. They had a premiere at Fact in Liverpool when it came out a couple of years ago, but at the moment it's still only on DVD. And that's an amazing film, because it takes the history right back further than I ever thought. I know when I first got dragged in to talk to the producers, they asked me the same question: where do you think You Never Walk Alone comes from? And everybody's so
Carousel, yeah.
It was a long time. It was about 40 years history before that.
Wow.
Because the play was written by an Austrian playwright.
That's right, yeah.
He moved to Germany, where there were bigger theatres and whatever. Just before the war, he got out of Germany because he was Jewish, went to America. Rodgers and Hammerstein offered him all sorts of money for the rights to this thing, and he said, no, I'm not having my play turned into a musical. After the war, it come back to him, by which time he was on his uppers, made him the offer he couldn't refuse, bought the play, turned it into Carousel, and that's
there
where
we go.
it started. So it's it's an amazing history, and of course it's spread back the other way to Borussia Dortmund sing it before every game.
Yeah, Celtic.
Celtic, FC Twente in Holland. One of the Italian teams do it as well.
I didn't know that.
I'm trying to remember which one. I should know, but I don't. And it's then you go on tour to Australia, and it's louder than it's ever been.
Of course, yeah.
It's crazy.
What's the best rendition you've ever had?
Well, the best rendition I can remember. I used to say it was after the
Barcelona game.
I used to say it was the Chelsea game.
Oh, Chelsea game, yeah, sorry.
2005.
Yeah.
Because if you actually Google the best rendition of You Never Walk Alone, that quite often comes up. And if you watch the whole thing, it's hilarious, because there's a bit where I'm announcing the 6 minutes added time, and Rafa and Jose Mourinho going mental for different reasons. And then when we get through, I bang You Never Walk Alone straight on.
Yeah.
And again, at the end of that, I'm giving a speech. I just lost it by then. I actually had to tell my aunt saying that I've been coming here for God knows how long, and this is the best atmosphere ever.
Amazing.
But Barcelona this year topped that.
Yeah.
By quite some distance. Again, the way it worked out, that but You Never Walk Alone on the end, and the team lined up and joined in.
Yeah, it's just you can't rehearse that, can you? You can't plan that.
The other thing I say about that night, my room was actually shaking that night. I'd never done that before. Wow. Sometimes you get people in the top end of the Kenny Dalglish stand stamping their feet and whatever, and there's a bit of a noise. But that night, the building was physically moving. I was worried for a while, but obviously we got through.
Yeah,
I've never known anything like it. But again, circumstances, everything fell into place. We turned up missing 3-star players, 3-0 down to the best team on earth.
Yeah,
and then Divock scores early doors, and we're thinking, hang on.
Yeah.
We're at Anfield under the lights. This could happen again.
Yeah. And then it 2-0. Ooh, hey. And then after that, it was like a steamroller.
Yeah.
But again, Liverpool, you were 4-0 up, and you still think they only have to sneak one.
That's it. Yeah.
It's all dead in the water, but we didn't. And there we go.
So would you say that was the best atmosphere? I mean, obviously
definitely.
You've been there for Saint Etienne and the Chelsea game, but that's definitely the one now. That's overtook everything. Yeah, amazing. With obviously the managers that have been at the ground for over the years, have you got any like funny stories like the change that they've made that has affected your job role?
Well, I don't think really and truly it's affected my job role, simply because they have nothing to do with what I get up to. I get feedback once in a while, but not lately.
Yeah. It's because they trust you.
Eh?
It's because they trust you.
You said about Rafa, you said about Rafa changing.
Rafa changing the time of You Never Walk Alone was a minor hiccup.
Yeah.
But he didn't affect what I played before that. So
of course, yeah.
Well, I mean, nowadays, I've still actually to prove what Jurgen actually likes. You keep hearing about this heavy metal stuff he likes. And
He's got good taste with heavy metal. I need to educate you with heavy metal, Mick. It's awesome.
But he, I asked somebody from Kicker magazine in Germany. They interviewed him and they interviewed me for the same copy of the magazine.
Yeah.
About 5 years ago, and I said, "You've spoken to him? Well, what does he actually like?" And they came back with, "All we know is he was spotted one night coming out of a concert by a girl called Helene Fischer, and she is no rock chick.
Yeah.
She's probably the German equivalent of Paloma Faith, something
Right.
like that.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, maybe not, but that's it. I mean, but I was telling somebody the other night when Jurgen turned up, his first home game was against Ruin Kazan in the probably the Europa League, and I collared him after the game. I just happened to see him going past, and I said, "Excuse me, I'd just like to introduce myself." And I got as far as "I'm George," and I held my hand out, and he looked at me and his eyes lit up, said, "Oh yes, you was the famous voice of Anfield." And I very nearly passed out.
I'm not surprised.
I couldn't believe it, but I mean, when he'd gone, one of the stewards, the full-time stewards there, said, "That guy's been here a week and he knows everybody.
Yeah.
Not just the staff, players, tea lady, the office cat, stewards, me." And that's that's the way he is, and that's why everybody loves him, because
of course
he's just such a bundle of dynamite. He's fantastic.
I think that's why he's fitting so perfectly as well. Like you said, like he ingratiates himself into the club so much from the go that he's already part of the club. So.
I had a funny experience on Friday night last. I was doing a function at the Hotel Tier to celebrate the 60th anniversary of Shanks coming, and everybody has a Shankly story to tell. But his granddaughter was there, and I was a bit nervous, but I was saying that was really the last time I got in lumber with one of the managers. We had a youth cup match, mid-70s, early 70s, when Leeds were top of the league and we were chasing them. Huddersfield Town were bottom of the league. During the first half, Peter Robinson rang through to say, just heard that Huddersfield are beating Leeds 1-0 at Ellen Road. This was sensational. So he said, if you get a break in play, give the score out. So I did. There was a big cheer. Halfway through the second half, Peter rings me back. He said, Leeds are 3-1 up now. In the interest of fairness and balance and all, you better give that score out when there's a break in play. So I did. And when I got downstairs afterwards, on my way home, the girl on reception said, "Leg it." So Shanks is after you. Apparently he was wandering the corridors looking for me. "Hey, where is he? I'll kill him. He ruined the atmosphere. Where is he? I'll kill him." Christ. And, I did. You'd be amazed how fast I got back to my car. But
did he ever get you eventually?
No. 3 days later, we had a Saturday afternoon game. I turned up. First person I saw, Shanks, and I thought, I'm dead. I just turned around, looked up, said, "Morning, son." And that was it. End of.
Got away with that one.
Yeah, but he was fantastic. I mean, the likenesses between the two of them, they're both human dynamos, basically. I say about Jurgen, that when he retires from Liverpool, I should just plug him into National Grid. Just leave it there.
Shout that.
Yeah.
I think, like you said, with the managers over the years, there's something different about the club now with Klopp, isn't there? And you know, I suppose for yourself, because you are. I mean, George, are you the longest serving employee at Anfield?
In theory, except I'm not an employee.
Yeah.
I'm only casual labour.
Still can't believe that.
If you don't believe me, I'll bring a pay slip.
Thing is, if they offered it, would you change it? Because I wouldn't change it now. I'd just be like, no, I'm sticking the way I am.
I know. And nowadays I get paid by email, but when I used to get a pay slip through the post, my postman would fall about laughing every week. George Sephton address on the. And in brackets, casual. Yeah. I'm not sure it can stand up in a court of law, but I'd love to try it.
Oh, it's funny though. It's brilliant. So as a casual worker at Anfield, we touched on the Barcelona, but are there any other moments that have stood out for you? Obviously, we touched on Barcelona and Chelsea, but
I mean, they're the ones that stand out. The big nights, and sometimes when actually the semi-final against Chelsea 2 years later, when we ended up in Athens.
Oh, the penalties one.
That was.
Oh, of course.
I mean, that was when Hicks and Gillette were in charge, and I know I went downstairs afterwards, standing in reception, and George Gillette came up to me. I'd never spoken to the guy.
Yeah.
And he's pumping my hand. "Oh, you did a great job tonight, George. You're building the atmosphere. It was brilliant."
Fantastic.
I said, "Thank you." I say I hadn't a clue he knew who I was, but the following day somebody said, he's boned up. He really knows what's he thinks he knows what's going on. He's memorised. He still doesn't understand the ethos. Yeah, but he knew what's going on. And then, not long after that, we have our school reunion dinner at Anfield every year, and I was at the bar before the meal, and somebody tapped me on the shoulder and said, "There's somebody who wants to speak to you." And I turned around, it was George Gillette, and I looked down, and then everybody falls about laughing. It's not George Gillette, it's a guy who went to our school who was the absolute spitting image of George Gillette. And he was saying that for a while after FSG took over, he's got a season ticket in the main stand. He was treated like royalty. Wow. All the stewards, this way, sir, you sit down. Then, of course, when they fell out of favour, he used to have to go with his hat pulled down over his face. But, that's things like that to stand out for you. Again, I say that the whole... What my time at Anfield boils down to is the people you meet along the way. The people I talk to, who I had never in a million years have got to know if it hadn't been for my connections with Liverpool. I mean, last night I was chatting to David Morrissey, who was in the Kenny Dalglish stand. Again, I've known David for a long time. He was in the youth theatre at the Everyman. He's a big Liverpool fan. Yeah, he is, yeah. And my granddaughter's 21 today, and he did a little video for her. Which, you can imagine how that went down with her. She's so chuffed. But he's a lovely bloke. And then, again, a lot of musicians. Elvis Costello, obviously. Pete Wiley. I was on the video for Heart as Big as Liverpool, which is, you can get older ones. It's a very rare video. It is, yeah. It is. I'm on there. And it's one of those things, so often you stand there thinking, what am I doing? Yeah, you have to pinch yourself type thing. Like you do. You have to stop and take a deep breath and that, how did I get here? Yeah. Thank your wife. Thank your wife. Oh yes. So she knows she's starting to get bored with the story now, but she can't understand anybody showing their head above the parapet really. So she thinks I'm crackers sometimes. Some of the things I get up to. Well, I think it's wonderful. I mean, that You Never Walk Alone film, and Shankly Nature's Fire, I was in that as well.
Yeah.
And seeing yourself on the big screen is weird if you're not in the business. But then, I don't, you know, the International Movie Database online.
I love IMDb. It's brilliant.
Well, I'm in there. Well, and I said, if you told me years ago I'd be in there, I would have said you were crazy.
Yeah.
But then, you know, the trips out, the trip to, 95, the League Cup final at Wembley, I was out in the middle of the pitch with a mic and the local guy, a local announcer. And I said, I'm standing on the pitch at Wembley.
Yeah.
You just can't buy experiences like that.
Of course. Well, that to be fair, that's a good thing to bring up, because I suppose you were brought down there because of the locality and the familiar voice and stuff like that. Does that happen? Like, did that happen in Istanbul? Did that happen in... No.
Istanbul, I was taken to European finals starting in 81.
Right.
78, I went to Wembley as a spectator. 81, I was taken at UEFA's request because they'd had trouble the European final when Leeds played there 6 years earlier, I think. So some bright spark decided it'd be a good idea to have a familiar voice on the PA.
Yeah.
So I was there. I got taken to Rome, and I got taken to the Heysel, which was, you know, an experience and a half, you can imagine.
Yeah.
And I had murder getting in each time. It was a trivia question on TalkSport a few years ago. Remember Lofty in EastEnders?
Yeah.
Another good friend of mine.
Wow.
He messaged me this week. He just read the piece on the Athletic website and reminded me that he came up to Liverpool when Arsenal beat us just after Hillsborough, and he came up with the production team. He couldn't get a ticket, and he stood out on the old TV gantry. I was told to shut up and just sit in the corner and watch. And when Arsenal scored, he went ballistic.
Right.
And they were going to throw him out, but they didn't. They threw him into my room, and we look after him. And to that day, he still said, "I saved his life," which is
wow.
But he went into TalkSport one day, and he used to go and do a trivia quiz. And one of the questions was, who was it had a loaded gun pointed at him at 3 successive European Cup finals? And the presenter's sort of scratching his head, and the answer's me.
What?
Because, you know, each time Paris, Rome, and Brussels, I got in lumber with the local, you know, people trying to get me out. CRS in Paris.
Wow.
The Carabinieri in Rome. And then the local. There weren't many police at the Heysel, which was half the problem. But one of them was threatening me. I was told to say certain things which I refused to do.
Yeah.
Because I said, we've already had 39 people killed. If I do that, they were talking about abandoning the game if somebody came on the pitch. I said, no, because if anybody scores a goal, the other lot will be on the pitch.
Yeah.
There'll be a real bloodbath. I'm not prepared to do that. And the answer was, do as you're told. And I said no, at which point the gun appeared. Luckily, Phil Neal appeared very shortly afterwards. Yeah. And he laid into the other people who were shouting at me, and that was the end of it. But it's all part of the games.
Yeah. And then obviously, like, so with Istanbul, I mean...
suddenly I wasn't wanted in Istanbul.
Right.
Which I was really disappointed doesn't come close, you know.
Yeah, I can imagine.
The story was that UEFA decided they didn't want the stadium announcers anymore.
Right.
Because they had people organised to do it, so I didn't get there. And it was quite embarrassing on the day, because I was wandering around work and people looking at me said, "Why aren't you Istanbul?" I said, "You asked me."
Yeah.
Yeah. You tell me, but they never got any word. 2007, my son and I went to Athens, but we made our own arrangements. I didn't, give up by then. Trying to get an official.
Yeah, it's fair enough. Well, it's been nice for you and your son to take that trip together.
Yeah.
Because I think I read somewhere that he wanted to go to Heysel with you, didn't he?
Yeah,
and then and he said, "Oh, we'll go next year."
Yeah.
Then it was not for another 20 odd years.
All these years
I know.
But
So-
no, I mean it was sad the way it fell out. It was quite annoying. And then when we got to Kiev, I was in Dortmund for the UEFA Cup final in 2001. That was good. That was again UEFA wanted me there, but I say 4 years later when we got to Istanbul, I wasn't required anymore. But when we got to Kiev a couple of years ago, Madrid this year, I had people coming up to me and showing bits of paper in my top pocket with their name on it. If you see any spare tickets, you'd let me know.
Yeah.
And I said, well, if I get to see a spare ticket,
I'm having it.
For me.
Yeah.
Well, you're going, of course. Oh, no.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that, of course.
No, that's just not the way it works. So
Absolutely.
I'm only a casual steward. I don't get invited to these things.
Yeah.
But just as well. The killer was that after Madrid this year, the following morning, my wife wanted to go and see the parade, and so did I. But I can't walk very far nowadays, so we drove down to Allerton near the start. I know a couple of the back cracks there, parked up about 20 yards from the edge of the pavement. Watched them go past, and came home. My daughter, my eldest son lives down in Crawley, so he wasn't coming. My daughter and her family went down to Pierhead, saw the parade. Now I phoned my other son who lives in Widnes. I said, "Are you not going to the parade?" He said, "No." He sounded a bit sort of deflated. I said, well, "Why not?" And he said, "Because I'm going to Players' Party tonight." I said, "You what?" Doesn't work at Anfield.
Wow.
A neighbour of his is on the staff.
Yeah.
Married to a woman who's died in the war, Evertonian, who refuses to set foot inside Anfield, so he had a spare ticket. I mean, my son, God bless him, he's had a really rough couple of years.
Yeah.
And he was full of apology. I said, "No, you go, you enjoy it, you deserve a treat."
Of course.
And so at 10 o'clock that night, my phone starts pinging, and a picture of him draped round the cup, and a picture of him draped round Jordan Henderson, on Andy Robertson,
wow,
Virgil. And then about 11 o'clock, I'll just go into bed and ping. And one of him and Jürgen, who were bosom pals by then.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
But that's the thing, he's probably telling the players who he is, and they go, "Oh yeah, George is a legend, we love him," and all that sort of stuff. So.
I think so. That I can guarantee he knows so.
In terms of obviously the many amazing players that have graced Anfield, if you could pick like your own sort of like five-a-side team, have you ever thought about that?
I've never been asked to pick a five-a-side team. Some people ask me for my favourite player, and I always say the same thing. I've got 3 kids. You wouldn't ask me which is my favourite one.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's the same principle. Liverpool, obviously, Kenny is the standout person in my time at Anfield. Not just because of the player he was, but the way he is as a man, what he did after Hillsborough,
of course,
the way he conducted himself throughout, the way he conducted himself when he got sacked the second time.
Yeah.
And he, apparently, well, you've heard the story about him being very complimentary to me when I was 65.
Yeah, indeed.
And though I was out with my wife, my daughter, and my son-in-law having a meal, and my phone started going off, and people were texting me saying, "Isn't it lovely what Kenny said?" And I'm thinking, what did Kenny say?
Yeah.
Somebody tell me. And when I got home, I went up to my laptop and found it. I was just speechless.
I can
Absolutely
imagine. Yeah.
speechless. And I called my wife in and I said, "Just watch this." And I said, "Right, you can shoot me now."
Yeah, I'm done. Can't get any better.
It's not going to get any better than that. Really isn't. Yeah.
Well, we won't pick the five-a-side then, because we'll just have 5 Kennys for you.
Yeah.
But we've moved to the present day now. Obviously, we've just come off the back of a 5-2 win against Everton, top of the table, 8 points clear. Midway through the season, obviously we've all got to stay calm.
Yes.
How are your nerves in that box?
In a dreadful state. Every week I turn up thinking it's only another game, it's only Brighton, it's only Watford, whatever. And every time I come home completely shredded.
Yeah.
There's always something to. And obviously, the Derby match was crackers. I thought we were going to end up 9-aside. When they scored when we were 2-0 up, I thought, here we go. And to be fair to Evan, I don't like that, but I'm going to be. They looked like they were playing a bit,
Yeah.
And I thought they're going to spoil things for us here. And then obviously Mane missed a couple. We should really have been streets ahead.
Yeah, absolutely.
We had to worry. But we did. 4-2, we're all right. You're watching the clock winding down, and then we got number 5. We're all right.
Calm down, then, yeah.
But
how are you feeling about the rest of the season?
Well, the same. Even every match is going to be a cup final now. We just can't afford to let it slip.
Yeah.
And now it's not just watching Liverpool with your nerves jangling, your fingers crossed. And then you've got to put the TV on and watch City.
Yeah.
Playing and hoping they throw stuff away. They have done once or twice. But now they're having a bit of a bad time. Leicester are coming through.
Yeah.
And you're thinking they're playing a bit. Although we have beaten them at Anfield, we've got to go there. We've got to go to the Etihad. Chelsea, I've been very impressed with since they've got into a bit of a groove. I can't see them doing this year, but I wish they'd all go away and leave us.
I know,
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
We just got to hope that the pack spread the points out amongst themselves. And really and truly, I'd love us to win this World Club Championship.
Oh,
People are
100%,
saying,
yeah.
It's a noddy competition. Oh,
No, not at all.
Champions of the world.
Yeah.
I don't care if you had to pay, a local boys team to win it. Champions
It's a title, yeah,
It's
absolutely.
honestly-
Something we've never won. So
And I'm old enough to remember this, having a bad time in that competition years ago. I mean, getting up at the crack of dawn to watch us play the Brazilians, 84. But it wasn't the crack of dawn, it was about 4 o'clock in the morning, rightly. And being so disappointed. But you don't get the chance very often. But we're taking a good squad out there, so hopefully it means business.
Oh, definitely. I think you look at the lads, because obviously there's lots of foreigners in the football teams these days. They look at the Champions League and these titles as you've got to win one title to get the other. So I agree with you, George. It's so important, and the squad says that. But going forward, George, obviously 49 seasons now. How many more do you see yourself doing the job? Are you going to round it off at 50 and then write a book again?
Well, I'm writing a book.
Oh, you are?
I am. It's weird because after that thing in the Athletic the other day, I got a message from a publisher in London, a very upmarket publishing house. Said, "Have you ever thought of writing a book?" I said, "Well, has it?"
You did?
Well, I wrote one 20 odd years ago, which you must have seen.
Yeah.
But
it's hard to get hold of that though, George, isn't it? It's very hard to get hold of.
Right, I can find you. Actually, the unsigned ones are the rare ones. I can sort them out, believe me. But I was approached by Peter Hooton from the farm, who introduced me to a literary agent, who said you should get something together to coincide with the end of 50 years.
Yeah.
So I've got 110,000 words down so far.
Wow.
Pretty good going.
Yeah.
Although it's going to get doctored slightly. But after this publisher got on to me, I phoned up the agent and said, "This guy is interested. Why don't we square the circle? Can I give you his number and vice versa?" Yeah, sure. So today they've been talking to each other. So that makes me feel it's suddenly become much more of a realistic prospect, which
fantastic.
I'm quite looking forward to.
Oh, well, absolutely.
I'll get to the end of 50 years next year, hook or by crook, unless I actually, drop down dead.
Let's touch wood then. Let's just touch wood.
But I mean, my prophecy, my wife will find me dead in the chair one morning, clutching the winning lottery ticket. It's just the way my luck goes.
Or your full-time contract at Anfield.
I can't walk off before the end of 50 seasons.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm getting on a bit now. I'm not certainly not in athletic health, that's for sure. But then they're extending Anfield Road in 2022, maybe.
Yeah.
And I think 61,500. I'd love to have a go at that.
Absolutely, yeah.
But what I've said is, look, let's get through this season, win the league. That'd be a huge milestone.
Yeah.
A monumental milestone for everybody. Because 30 years, that's a whole generation of people who've never seen what we should be doing year in, year out.
Yeah.
And then I'll get through next year and see how it goes. I mean, somebody might come to me and say, look, George, you've had a good run, now up it. I might win the lottery, I might get fed up. A million and one things might happen. So I'm just taking each match as it comes, as they say. And, well, in my case, each season. But 49 seems a lot, and it's
an incredible achievement.
Next door. Well, yeah. And the other thing, of course, I've got to see Peter Gillam off at Brentford.
I was just about to say that you need to beat him. Let's get that beat.
Yeah, he might. If I do win the lottery, he might well disappear. Maybe off from an Australian club or something.
Yeah.
No, I'll say I'm literally just getting through what I've got to do, because there's stress enough without building extra stress. A million and one things could happen.
Of course. Well, let's get to 50. Let's win the league, and then let's have a look at that book. We'll definitely have a read of that book, and we'll get you back on the podcast as well when we see that book. But George, thank you so much for joining us. We really, really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And that was the Kopite special, and we'll see you very, very soon.
Thank you.